Hello everyone, myself Anand Joshi and I am working as a assistant professor in Chandigarh Polytechnic College, Gurua in mechanical department. So today our topic is milling machine and its types. So let's start our today topic, milling machine and its types. Now I am sharing with you a presentation on milling machine and its types. So this is the first slide, our topics, introduction of milling, working principle of milling machine, classification, brief description and applications of milling, detailed column and knee type milling machine. This slide introduction of the milling. Milling is the machining process in which the removal of metal take place due to the cutting action of multi-point revolving cutter when the work is fed against. The revolving cutter is mounted on a spindle and the work is clamped on the machine table. The teeth of the cutter is removed. The cutter required metal in the form of chip from the work surface to have the desired shape. The milling machine has the provision to hold one or more number of cutters at a time. So look at the diagram, the principle of a milling cutter diagram. Both cutters are moving in the same direction, but the workpiece moves in the opposite direction. In the first diagram, in the second diagram, the workpiece also moves in the direction through the cutter. So in the first diagram, you see the cutter moves in the clockwise direction and the workpiece moves in the opposite direction. So it's called a conventional milling. In the second diagram, the cutter moves in the clockwise direction also and the workpiece moves within cutter direction also. So it's called a climb milling. So these are the two types of a milling cutter. Second slide, working principle of milling machine. The working principle of milling machine is shown in figure which we discussed in the next slide. So the job is clamped rigidly on the table of the milling machine. Whereas the milling cutter is mounted on a spindle, the cutter revolves at a high speed and the work is fed slowly past the cutter. As the cutter rotates, each tooth removes a small amount of material from the advancing work for each spindle rotation. During the cutting operation, each cutting tooth takes part in cutting only for a part of each revolving of the cutter, and for the rest of the revolution, it runs idle and gets cool. The cutter teeth remove metal from the work surface and produce the desired shape. Look at the working principle of milling machine. This is a cutter. This is a work table and vise holding the workpiece. Cutter moves down. This is a spindle. Handle moves crosswise feed. This is cutting the extra material from the workpiece. Look at it once more time. So in the next slide, classification, brief description of milling machine. A large variety of different types of milling machines are classified in several ways, covering a wide range of work and capacities. The usual classification of these machines is done as follows. First is type column and knee type milling machine, fixed bed type or manufacturing type milling machine, planer type milling machine, and special purpose milling machine. So these are the some types of milling machines. In the next slide, column and knee type milling machine. These are general purpose machines having a single spindle only. So in the column and knee type milling machine, spindle having one single speed spindle only. Their name is so called from the fact that the work table is supported on a knee like casting, which slides in a vertical direction along a vertical column, departing upon the spindle position and table movement. The column and knee type milling machines are further classified as follows. First is horizontal milling machine, second vertical milling machine, and third is universal milling machine. So this is a diagram of horizontal milling machine. So at the first lower side is base. So base is made of specially cast iron because of it holds the whole body weight at the base. So base is made of a cast iron solid material. So in the left side we saw a column. The column hold the knee, elevated screw, work table and saddle, and it holds also a spindle which is located and picked by a arbor overarm. So in column after that we see a knee. Knee is located upon a elevated screw. The main function of elevated screw is to move up and down the knee and table. The saddle hold the work table. In the work table, workpiece picked by the work table. After that, the spindle is located throughout the column and it is side support by the arbor. Arbor and spindle or column is overarm support also. So arbor support also to the spindle. In the spindle middle, the cutter is located stationary. The cutter revolves circularly in the spindle. After that, the work table holds the workpiece and moves through to the cutter. The cutter revolves and extra material removed from the workpiece. Fixed bed type or manufacturing type milling machine. These machines are more rigid, heavy in weight and larger in size and carry a single or multi spindles. They are either automatic or semi-automatic in operation. The common operation performed on these machines are slot cutting, grooving, gang milling, and facing. They are further classified as follows. First is simplex or plain type milling machine having a single horizontal spindle, duplex milling machine, triplex milling machine also. So this is a type or diagram of a fixed bed type milling machine. This is bed which is fixed on the knee, and this is your base which is made up of a cast iron. This is a control panel which controls the whole program of the machine. Third is a planar type milling machine. These are so called because they are robust in constructions like a planer. They are mainly used for heavy work as they carry 4 tools heads which are mounted over them and can be adjusted in vertical or transverse direction. So this is a diagram of a planar type milling machine. This bed is a planar type. Next is a special purpose milling machine. So in the special purpose milling machine, as the name indicates, these machines are designed for specific type of operations and are the following types. These types are thread milling machine, gear milling, hobbing, cam milling machine, planetary milling machine, offset milling machines. So detailed column and knee type milling machine is another slide. Column and knee type milling machine comprises the following important parts. So these are the important part of a column and knee type milling machine. First is base. It is a foundation member for all the other parts which rest upon it. It carries the column at its one end. In some machines, the base is hollow and served as a reservoir for the cutting tool. So in the some machining, the base is a hollow type because it consists of reservoir as a cutting fluid. Second is the part column. The column is the main supporting member mounted vertically on the base. So it is a box shaped heavily ribbed inside and houses all the driving mechanism for the spindle and table feet. Third, knee. The knee is a rigid gray iron casting which slides up and down on the vertical ways of the column face. An elevating screw mounted on the base is used to adjust the height of the knee, and it's also supported the knee. Next part is saddle. The saddle is placed on the top of the knee and it slides on the guideways set exactly at 90 degrees to the column face. Table. The table rests on the ways on the saddle and travel longitudinally. A lead screw under the table engages a nut on the saddle to move the table horizontally by hand or power. Overhanging arm. It is mounted on the top of the column, which extends beyond the column face and serves as a bearing support for the other end of the arbor. Next is the front brace. It is an extra support which is fitted between the knee and the overarm to ensure further rigidity to the arbor and the knee. In the last slide, in this slide, spindle and arbor. Spindle, it is situated in the upper part of the column and receives power from the motor through belts, gears, and clutches and transmit it into the arbor. In the arbor, it is like an extension of the machine spindle on which milling cutters are securely mounted and rotated. The arbors are made with taper shank for proper alignment with the machine spindles, having taper holes at their nose. In this slide, horizontal plane milling machine. Topic. It contrasts to vertical milling machine. Horizontal milling machine does not use a fixed spindle. Instead, they employ cutting heads similar to small circular saws that are mounted on a horizontal arbor. In some cases, such as when the arbor stretches across the entire length of the bed, multiple cutters can be installed. This is an animated diagram of horizontal milling machine. Look at, this is the overarm which is located at the column and supported the arbor bracket, and this is a spindle. This is a cutting tool. This is a machine and workpiece. This is a transverse handle which moves longitudinally this side, and this is a knee and vertical transverse handle, and it is called a elevated screw. This is a side view and it is a front view. Sorry, this is a front view and this is a side view. Vertical milling machine. When used to describe milling machines, the terms vertical generally refers to the orientation of the spindle or cutting tool. Spindle, also known as a cutting head, is oriented vertically on a vertical milling machine because the cutting head is fixed in vertical orientation. There are other parts of the machine that shifts along one or more axes to move the material so it is in the right location to be milled correctly. Third type is universal milling machine. Universal milling machine are used to process different surface of small, low weight parts for piece and serial production. The machine rotary device allows turning the table around 90-degree vertical axis. As a result, the table can move in horizontal direction around different angles island to the spindle axis. This is a diagram of a universal milling machine. Thank you. So this is the our today topic, milling machine and its type. So we discuss more topics in the next lecture also. So thanks all.